I'm just carrying on a little bit from my last one because that's a subject I've never talked about. And I don't want to go into too much detail. And it might, it's the sort of thing that would ruin my chances of ever doing anything with my physiotherapy degree, because I still could. But I think I've already ruined that anyway. I'm not compatible for their professional image and their way of working. That's okay. That's, physiotherapy has been here a lot longer than I have. It was what it was before I came along, and I chose to be it. And then I found out I found out a lot of things, and a lot of shit happened. And I just got to the end of it just knowing that I had probably a fucking shit name in the two fucking local hospitals. Saw how the dynamics were all working, all that shit. It would be nice to use the title. I'd sort of ask if I could join the CSP as like a unregistered qualified or something like that, just to brush up on my knowledge, get some skill sets going, all of that sort of stuff, and actually bring some clinical knowledge and expertise into what I'm doing or what I'm working towards doing. And it's always been there, but I've always just thought, oh, I don't know that academic mode of thinking nearly fucking brutalised my brain shitless. So, oh, hang on, I've just got to shove a wire up your ass. Excusez-moi. There we go. Still going good. But again, it's one of those. Oh, by the way, that I think he thinks he's hungry from a couple of videos ago. Do you know what this is? This is get the fuck out of my way. He wants to sit right here. He'll ask to go under the duvet, but it'll come up against my legs. But whenever I'm not on the bed, he's right here, and he just comes and stands real close next to me and purrs, and he's basically saying, "Can you get the fuck out of the way, please?" No, Giz, I won't. I'm sitting here. You can sit under there if you want. But yeah, where was I going to go with it? I don't know. It felt good to kind of talk about it in a way, because it was. I think in and of itself, it's enough to have put a lot of people off. Do you know what I mean? It was the thing that it was then led to another chain of events, basically, or was a big part of another chain of events that led to the meltdown. But that's why the meltdown was so biblical. It was just fucking. I'd had like 2 or 3 like crowning glory bounce back fucking moments. That was the thing as well. I'd failed my first placement, and that was hanging over me all fucking year. And like, if I'd have, I was kind of lucky in a way. I was kind of lucky because I was shit. It was my shittest subject, and I was suddenly supposed to do it at 3rd year student level, which is professional standard, and I knew I was rubbish at it. I scraped through. I got 40 and 44 or something. That's just a pass, which they say to you, that means that you meet all of the professional standards. You wouldn't be allowed to practice unless you meet all of the professional standards in that book. There's about 137 of them. They don't award you the title until you've met them satisfactorily. So 40% is enough for that. But I was rubbish at it, and we'd all moved on and done other stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it was the whatever placement the dice gives you. So I was very unlucky to get the placement. As it turned out, it basically turned out to be 3 weeks training, because I got a repeat placement after everyone else had finished and qualified and was all happy. And I was like, yeah, I'm not there. I can still fuck this right up. Right up until what was it? I think I handed it on a Monday. I had to do my portfolio over the weekend. And it was awful. That was rubbish as well. That was the other thing about the grade. Is that I thought I'd done really well in the portfolio. I had a really good idea that educators had said they'd really focused on the standards. That's what the advice they'd given to us, is the standards. So I had gone through each single fucking one of those and given a written description of where I'd seen it in my clinical practice and spoken to the educator about it. And I went through each one. I was noting them down. And a few people said that's a fucking brilliant idea, because then they signed it as a like legal document and dealt with all the confidentiality issues and all of that crap, and then wrote a reflection on it. All of the stuff you're supposed to do, and I thought it was fucking brilliant. And when I got my final grade through, one of the numbers didn't make sense, and the email came back and said, no, it's an aggregate score. And I was like, fuck, that means I got 42 for my portfolio. Like I said, if I'd have got my 58, I'd have probably definitely got that 2-1 that I wanted. I don't know. It might not have made much difference, but that's the bit that really fucking hurt me as well. After I'd watched everyone else graduate, then literally it was a brilliant placement where I went, the end one, and I did all right. I got 58. Got 58, and by that point I was going, that's just my number. That's just my number. But they took a very different approach to it. And so, like, they were much more about training, not expecting me to know it already, basically. And so they spent a lot of time doing so, and they taught me loads. They taught me loads. I was good because of them. They let me learn the way I learn, and I was learning by doing. They were giving me practical things to fucking work with, and then watching me do it on patients, stuff like that. So it was really good in that sense. It taught me a lot about respiratory physio. But yeah, I'd done it all through that, so I finished that. Okay, that one's in the bag. It's all right. It means I definitely won't. Don't talk to me about it first. It's now fucking impossible. Let me crack on and do this. And I did that. Thought it was brilliant. And it was like a final boot up the arse. And it's like, hi, here's your lukewarm degree. You've totally fucked that up, by the way. And then the essay that had been capped, that was on the big unit, I got 64. So that's why I might have got a 2-1. Because that 64, if it had gone through 64 originally when I'd have written it back in April, that unit would have gone through at about 85% and whacked everything right the way fucking up. But again, would I have looked better than I was? Well, clearly, actually, that's the one bit that I'm really annoyed about. But that a lecturer had said to me, I know what you're saying. I wrote those the learning outcomes or whatever they're called. And she said, that's confusing. She pointed out the anomaly that I fell for. But because I was the only one that fell for it, it didn't count. And I'm like, is that the worst luck in the world or what? And that's why I'm bothered about my grades. That's why I get bothered about the final bit on the bit of paper. It's not why I haven't bothered going and picking it up. It's just there is a lot of other negative attachments to the whole fucking loads of other things. This is not physiotherapy's fault. Like I say, it would be nice just to find a legal way of saying that I am a qualified physio, and I could document. I could advertise that I still study it. I could ask to go to. There are physios who have like study groups. There's a dude I know who does Sunday afternoons in his garage, and they talk about physiotherapy treatments and techniques. They're obsessed. But that's my crew if I want to learn about it, and just like literally do it at that level, and don't work anywhere where their reputation is going to come into consideration. That would be nice. That would be nice, because I think it just gives me, I did do very, very well in a lot of elements of physiotherapy. You know what I mean? I did get bullied, yeah, but I also got people pulling me to one side and said, that was really good the way you did that. I liked the way you did this, and there was lots of it. I gave them lots to approve of. I had a hell of a lot to give. But the fucking best one I had was a patient, you'd never get them. I was giving him as a bit of a treat, and he had a intensive 2 or 3 appointments a week, which is unheard of. But it was just because she knew I was competent enough. She was working down in a different clinic on certain mornings, and so she just let me have this guy, and it was all visual. Watch how he moves, think about what's going on, think about what muscles, and then go and write up and tell her what I've seen, what I think, what I'm going to work on, and why, and all of that. But the work was done with me, with my hands on him, and it's just, you don't often get to work like that, not that intensely. So it's, I don't know, but like I said, I think I may well have ruined my physiotherapy career long ago with my with my crudities and ridiculousnesses. I'm not very user friendly. I'm fucking embarrassing. But I have to care. I have to be giveless. Otherwise, I try and internalize, and I started to die. I was literally puking myself out of my mouth by the end of it for 8 months. I was puking for 8 months. So yeah, it does fucking affect you. And, you know, my learning difficulty and my mental health and my social calamitousness, not social fucking awkwardness. It's calamitousness. I'm terrible. People get really uncomfortable around me. They walk off like, oh, so fucking, you know, I've got eyes. I see people retune themselves. You know what I mean? And it's people are good at indicating when they're trying to talk to someone else or get away from you or close the conversation down or all of that sort of stuff. And it's I don't know, it's like that constant bewilderment. That's what made me sort of make the Windows video. It was like, here's one I can open. Because so often I think there's a window and it's just like, I don't know what happens. But the look on their face when they talk to me is how I feel inside. Like, and it just keeps fucking happening all the time. And you draw these conclusions too. You would draw these conclusions too if you were still just fucking being asked to tone it down, or you can't do that here, and can you leave the shop, and please take a seat, and all that sort of stuff. Well, like I said, that book title was going to be, what was it? I'm not imagining it. I'm not making it up, and I'm actually fucking enjoying it. But that was the I'm not imagining it bit. Because that's the point, is when you're working with it every day, when you're working with an atmosphere every day, when someone fucking hates you, they're allowed to make it obvious. And everyone goes, because they're confident enough to be bitchy and shitty to you and make frosty remarks. And everyone's scared of them, so they look at the floor and they give you sort of, but they don't challenge it. And you're trying to work. You're just going to work. You're just a person going to work. So that means you get it every single fucking time you talk to them and all that. And, you know, there's all that stuff about workplace bullying. And it's just, there are people, oh, hello kids. There are people with, like, you know, bully me written all over their face. And I do seem to be one of them and all that. But I'm trying to take responsibility and do something different, because I shouldn't have to be having these issues about interacting over things like that with people. And it's just way too common and way too often and way always my fault. And it's, you know, it's one of those things that makes facing it all harder and harder, because you're just, your string of history to call on. Remember, the subconscious learns from the lived experience. The lived experience is magnified by extreme pain, and I can't control my pain. This is how these things gang up on me. When you've got increasing amounts of lived experiences of being sort of weird and creepy and get away from him, there's still so much of that about. Because yes, I am bright and I am the person that people will get chatting to in queues and making comments on in shops and, you know, shouting across the room about my hat or whatever. But then I can just see how often I just really fucking creep people out. And then I return to the graph, and then it's all, Mikey, you could be imagining the whole thing. And I go, stop, I want to scream. I want to scream. Apparently my problem is knowing how to respond. A lot of the time it's knowing what to respond to, and if there is anything to respond to, and are you even there? And that's how fucking baffling the whole thing's got. But it was good to touch on that uni stuff, and you know, I don't think I'm popular enough for it to ever become damaging, but who knows? I needed to talk about it anyway, because I think it's the one thing I've never ever fucking met. I think only about 3 or 4 people know. Well, apart from all that lot. And every other fucker that they told, because it was fucking, have you fucking heard now? All that shit. She's here. Anyway, I'm not bitter about that. It was a fucking unpleasant experience. I was in a very low emotional stage at the start of it. Life was very confusing every single day while I was just trying to learn a complex subject, which makes very high mental demands of you, and everything just kept going fucking weird, and I never knew fucking why, and it just kept fucking happening everywhere I went, apart from 2 weeks in Ghana. So I had to, like, I don't know, was it a contributor to it or was it caused by it happening anyway? I think it's both, really. I think it was just starting to happen. The schizoidalness was happening around that time as well. So it was one of the big changes which made me less prepared for the next disaster, which made me less prepared for all the others, and then the big one. And that's why I had to take a seat.